Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Jeff. I'm here to hopefully teach you guys at least a little bit about physics. I think it's a pretty cool subject. Um, it definitely is not easy. It's actually like really pretty hard. But I think if you kind of put in the work and if you kind of put in the effort, it's actually something really awesome. And when things kind of start to make sense, it's just kind of like it's kind of like the walls come down and the sun starts shining, and it's pretty sweet actually. So the first thing that I want to do is talk about, how do we even sort of like engage in our study of physics? So we'll say, how do we engage in our study of physics? So I don't know, maybe you can pause the video and kind of think about that question and think about how you might answer it, because we want to study this thing called physics, but how do we actually do that? All right, so maybe you got done pausing the video, maybe you thought about it. So the first thing that I would say when you say, how do we engage in our study of physics, is you sort of have to define what physics is. So you'd kind of have to answer this question. I mean, it's kind of a big question, like what is physics? So there are different answers to this question, but I would say that there are kind of a few main areas of physics. And I mean, I'm only in my intro kind of level courses of physics. I mean, I've done some reading on my own, but from what I've learned so far, this is how we can kind of categorize the different areas of physics. I mean, I don't know if we can necessarily define physics, but if you would want to answer this question, you would have to say, well, it gets a little complicated because we have different areas. So kind of in order to define this, we have to sort of take into account that there are different areas of physics that we can actually study. So I'll say the first main area is pretty much going to be mechanics. So that's really going to be your Gen Phys 1, although here I'll just circle this here. So that's pretty much going to be your Gen Phys 1 stuff. Like your Newton's laws, your conservation of energy, your rotational motion, your wave motion. I don't quite think I know some Gen Phys 1 classes, they do go over thermo. I'm not sure if we would put thermo in here. I guess I haven't really learned enough about thermo to really know. But I would say that kind of the first main area of physics is definitely the mechanics area. I would say the next area is going to be electricity and magnetism. So this is going to be your Gen Phys 2 stuff. This is going to be going over potential differences, changes in electric potential energy, your current, your resistance, capacitors, all that kind of stuff. So I would definitely say that that's kind of the second sort of main area of physics. Currently, I'm at electricity and magnetism, so I don't really too qualified to speak on major areas beyond this. But what I know, I guess I would maybe say, well, here, I'll say that there are 4 kind of areas. For the third area, this is going to be your quantum mechanics. I've never taken a quantum mechanics course, but it's essentially just going to get into, I mean, it's a very high level study of the atom, um, and you're studying things uh, at at a very small length scale. So we can say sort of mechanics and electricity and magnetism are sort of at, we'll say, larger length scales. Larger length scales. And then quantum mechanics, it's going to be your smaller length scale. And so at this length scale, yeah, like just things behave differently. The physics is genuinely different, sort of at this length scale. So, I mean, I don't 100% know why that is. I haven't taken quantum mechanics yet, but I'm definitely excited to do it. I would say probably the fourth kind of like main area of physics, and again, for people who are more qualified, they'll probably know, they would be able to revise this, but I would just call it the area of relativity. So relativity is interesting because relativity can be applied to both the large and the small length scales. I'll say large and small length scale. So your large length scale is going to be stuff like your general theory of relativity. So again, I mean, I don't have a super good understanding, but like your gravitational relativity, or I don't know, it's something like that. But basically, this is going to be like your general relativity. And then relativity applied to a small length scale, that's going to be stuff like your quantum field theory. I'll say quant field theory. So quantum field theory is essentially, it's quantum mechanics mixed with relativity. So like, let's study quantum mechanics, but let's apply relativity to it. So I don't know, it's like atoms moving at like the speed of light or something like that. But yeah, I would definitely say that, well, not I would definitely say, in terms of my own understanding currently, these would probably be the four kind of like main areas of physics. Feel free to completely correct me, but at least kind of in my own understanding, as of this point, these would definitely be kind of like the four main areas of physics. So if you want to study physics, you kind of have to say, well, how do we even engage in the study of physics? And then you got to be like, well, you know, if you want to get a little bit meta, well, like what is this whole thing, you know, that we're calling physics? And well, you know, you can kind of say, well, you know, it has to do with mechanics. Well, it has to do with electricity and magnetism. You know, it has to do with these different things. I might try to make another video that will make this maybe like a little bit more concrete. Like, let's study, you know, like just like a point particle, or we'll say study point particle, and then, you know, we'll apply all the laws of physics that apply to point particles moving at way less than the speed of light. Okay, that's great. Now let's study a point particle moving at close to the speed of light. Okay, that's great. All right, let's try to study a point particle moving faster than the speed of light. Well, we couldn't do that. Well, why not? You know, so kind of as you start moving through different speeds, through different length scales, kind of like the laws of physics, they kind of get a little different at those different things. But yeah, I hope that this video kind of gave you at least some sort of intro into what physics is, how do we engage in it, and kind of in order to engage in it, you know, we have to kind of define it a little bit and kind of see, you know, kind of what area we're actually talking about. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and can you guys see that? Yep, last one. And I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks.